shot well done. Puede haber Pakowski, centra. And Riga lead.
Welcome to Latvian Football Podcast, where today we will cover the round 6 of Latvia's highest league, aka Virsliga. Yet another very, very interesting round of games with even more surprises than the last round. So again, a lot to talk about and a lot to discuss. So, what do you make of this round?
I don't know. It's yes, surprises were abound, but overall, there's nothing particularly outstanding about this round. I feel like certainly nothing shocking, even taking in consideration the things that were shocking that we'll get to eventually. But just a solid round of football where teams came out, that did their thing, and now we're here.
Yeah, less goals than usual.
Well, I mean, depends on what we take as usual.
True.
Right? It's been a little patchy this time, the season thus far.
Yeah. So, let's get into the first game. Liepaja against Auda, a potential 4th, 5th place battle, or after this round, who knows it, if even that. But 1-1, a draw, very interesting draw, which seems fair, but at the same time, I don't know. Again, it's just Liepaja's style of play, confusing, and don't know what to make of it. They started good, and then just scored, and again sat back and allowed Auda to play, which inevitably led to Auda's goal. Don't know what to do with Liepaja.
Well, there's nothing to do with them. They're figuring it out as they go, which is pretty much what Pertia said. And so we'll just have to see where they go from here. But yeah, Liepaja Auda 1-1. Liepaja leading in the first half. Auda's head coach Valakari described the game perfectly. It's a game he said that you can play and play, and then you get a wonder goal and 30 minutes in, and there you go, which is exactly what happened. Fantastic shot by Annan, just no chance for Ondoa to save. Liepaja lined up 3-4-3. Auda, they're now familiar 3-4-2-1. Ondoa in goal again, despite there not being a lone conflict, as was the case with game against Riga. So Ondoa clearly is showing his quality, and it's good to see him again. For Liepaja, some changes. Stanic, who was doing some very interesting things in the last rounds, is off, as is Nordanus and Saxes, and in their place, Didenberg is back from injury, and as well as, of course, Annan and Hrachov. For Auda, just one change, Pitio instead of Echal. But yeah, the game, I mean, I think stats pretty much describe it better than we ever could. I don't think I've seen such unequal distribution of possession for a long time. Certainly not between teams that are sort of supposed to be around the same level.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to say. They should be approximately the same amount, very similar teams in terms of their competitiveness in the league. But 74% against 26. Of course, Auda in the lead in terms of possession.
74.
That's
seriously 74% possession.
At the start, it didn't feel like it, but towards the end, it was very obvious. They were just controlling the ball, passing it around, trying to find places, trying to find chances to score, and they found a lot. I'd say Liepaja didn't even get lucky to get a draw out of it because, I think there were 2 posts. I think Auda hit the post twice in the last 20 minutes of the game. Goal scorer Stepanos, and he also hit post once. I think he came into play really nice. He's a very good player, very skillful, but it's just so on and off with him. A bit frustrating, but he was very good this time. Created chances, got chances, scored one. Again, it's very hard to comment Liepaja, I think, because they're just defending. And in the start, again, it seemed like a good choice to bench Stanic. He was doing weird things, as you said. I guess the team seems better and better, at least a little bit, but still, the possession. It's weird that this shouldn't be the style of play of Liepaja, of Pertti as well. They weren't even pressing that much, which is what Pertti loves to do.
He did note that they're not ready to press, so I guess there's concerns about the physical state of team and players. With Stanic, even though he started on the bench, he was subbed in 56th minute. They had to get Dodo on pitch for second half, even though he is still recovering from injury. And Liepa makes me nervous. They make me very nervous watching them because you never know. It feels like they're walking a tightrope with, a blindfold, and it's really unclear whether they will, rise or like in the game with Valmiera or fall or what will happen. But it's a very unstable club right now. With regards to Stepanov's interesting comments by Pertia, the Liepaja coach. Even though Stepanovs plays for Auda, apparently Pertia was the one who sort of promoted him, gave him a chance initially early in his career, said very nice things about him, said that he's an extremely talented player, just some issues with work ethic or motivation, so that he's not quite there in his head to fully live up to his potential. But what we saw in this game was very impressive. He, as you said, came in, he created a number of very dangerous chances, and in the end scored the goal that saved Auda.
When was it when sort of Pertti introduced Stepanos in it? I know he was at Valmiera for a bit, but I don't think he really played under Pertti for Valmiera, so I'm not sure, maybe even earlier on in the career. But very good from him. Again, I think pretty much every time I say this, but again, I think Isaias was really good in defense. Of course, the whole defense was good, but somehow he just stands out. A lot of good interceptions and good positioning from him. So, yeah, a really good season for him so far. Again, just I wish Danis Kazakevich would listen to me and just take my thoughts. And
well, we know what it takes to enact replacements. So
that is true.
Hopefully, some players will get a chance in the national team, purely because of the quality they're showing on the pitch, and not some factors surrounding, the games and the teams.
Yeah, exactly. And again, another player I always mention, Savelevs. He's again solid, good. But yeah, whole team of Auda was quite good. Again, Liepaja just scored a wonder goal pretty much. I did, however, read on the journalist Edmund Snovitsky's Patreon. He said he's not too big of a fan of Auda, and when I read into it, I thought it actually made a bit of sense because he's not the tallest goalkeeper, and he said that he's a bit show-offy. He's too sort of jumpy, and he didn't choose the right position when the goal was scored. He was a bit off his line, and the overall comment was that if it was a taller goalkeeper who wasn't off his line, the shot just shouldn't go in because it wasn't even in the corner. It was just in the middle of the goal, just high. I guess the ball moved a bit as well. But yeah, so you could ask questions about that. But on the other hand, was also not taller than Auda, I think. Would he save it? We don't know. But yeah, it was a good goal in terms of it was from a long way out. But it wasn't that unsavable, I think. So you can ask questions, but at the same time, okay, nothing to take away from Annan. Incredible goal. I wasn't expecting it.
I think that's key. That it was an unexpected shot. And I mean, this whole thing about, if Auda was taller, maybe he would have saved it. Well, if I had a wheel, I'd be a wagon, He isn't. I think he's incredibly skillful keeper, and he has shown himself to be as much, saving penalties, very agile. I don't know. I get where he's coming from, and I think it's the orthodox school of goalkeeping that the goalkeeper needs to be large. But I personally consider Iker Casillas to be pretty much the best goalkeeper of all time, or one of top three, and he wasn't a large guy. was lucky enough to meet him once. He's shorter than me. There should be a little bit more tolerance for diversity. Ondoa has a flashy haircut. He's different.
So, just so there's no misunderstanding, he didn't say he doesn't like him. He still said he's an amazing keeper and definitely one of the top keepers in Virsliga. He just made this sort of comment about. He compared him to Purinc, who's a similar height but more like slim looking. It was a bit of a I don't know, unnecessary, I guess, thought of him to just comment about Ondoa. But I just found it interesting that I didn't really think of it before. But of course, he's still a good keeper, and of course, he should be Auda's first choice. Well, okay, you could debate. It was also they're both good keepers, but it's not like he doesn't like him, nothing like that. Just a random comment on it. But again, it was a good goal. Of course, it's not his fault. Well, in the end, he didn't have much to do else. Just another shot on target, and realistically, Auda could have won the game, and then there would be pretty much no comments on the.
Yeah, interesting why Auda are struggling. We have discussed this previously, that they were very successful against the bottom 5 teams, and they still continue to struggle against top 5 teams, as was the case last season. The sharp-eyed listeners will know that we're kind of talking about top 5 and bottom 5, as if there's no middle. And I think in Virsliga that's usually that has been the case, that there is no middle. There's top teams and then there are bottom teams. To me, Auda kind of seems like this middle team, right? The archetypical solid contender, but not really someone who can challenge for the title.
I guess this really just shows where Auda's real place is. But at the same time, I think so far they have been better than Liepaja. And I was, as we were starting to speak about this game, I was thinking, God, I wonder what Liepaja will do against Jelgava, and then I remember they did play against Jelgava and won, but also just not really convincingly. And I don't know, Jelgava just seems, of course, they're not going to be a top 5 team, but it seems that Liepaja can't really push it into the top 5 or 4 in this case. They were lucky to win against Valmiera. If they didn't win, they would be sort of more of a bottom team. It's weird with them. It's just still confusing to comment on Liepaja. Without doubt, the most confusing team. No real style of play. Pertti changed the formation or whatever 3 times in a half. Again, he subbed off a player in the first half, which I think has been done almost every game this season, which is a very rare occurrence in football. So I don't know. It's interesting to see by which round we will know really what to say about Liepaja and how they should be playing and all that stuff, because at this point it's just hard to comment on them.
Yeah. Also something Pertti said in another interview where he mentioned that, since they missed out on European games because they finished 4th last season, but Auda took the cup, which means that only top 3 teams go into qualifiers, that their focus is going to be on pretty much rebuilding the team. But it's still Liepaja. We still expect a lot of it. And as you said, we'll see. And the question is, when will there be something that we would be able to see that has any property of consistency and reliability with respect to Liepaja? At the moment, they're very non-dependable as a team, very difficult to predict. We don't know what to expect. It's almost like they're playing on a whim. We were both wrong with respect to the outcome of this game. You predicted that Liepaja will win 2-1. I predicted that Auda will win 1-0. In the end, 1-1. Auda, despite their dominance, let's just say lucky to go away from Liepaja with a point in hand and, look forward to another day.
Yeah, exactly. Then the next game that you did go to, RFS against Tukums.
Yeah, went to the game. Again, wonderful atmosphere. It's just it's a pleasure going to LNK Sports Park these days with the new stands. Just lovely. Something noteworthy is that we met up with the Estonian Football Podcast and had a lovely chat. So if you also want to find out what's going on a little bit to the north of us, do give them a follow. Their format is a little bit different. They're more focusing on interviews with players and other actors within the football community. But their social media page, Twitter specifically, is highly informative. I mean, I genuinely don't know how they're curating all this much information about Estonian football, despite neither of the two hosts speaking a word of Estonian. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, so we met up with them and with a Polish journalist who's covering Latvian football, Jan, also on Twitter. And but yeah, the game itself was pretty much the standard RFS game that they're showing this season. RFS lined up in their familiar 4-2-3-1. Tukums offered something along the lines of 4-3-3. Marcis Osh, the Latvian national team center back, made an official debut for RFS. And Uzela and Vlalukin started this time, all three in place of Quadi, Jagodinskis, Panic, and Marish was away as well, as he's disqualified. Too many yellow cards. Complete RFS dominance easily could have been something like 5-0 in first half. Instead, hitting the post, missing a one-on-one, just an endless amount of crosses, passes, combinations, none of which leads to a goal. For Tukums, the regular goalkeeper who guards the Tukums net is actually an RFS player, so he couldn't play. So 17-year-old Chevers heroically protected the Tukums goal, made some spectacular saves, and in the end, RFS, as usual, squeezed one out and won the game. Although it should be noted that they played, if we're ignoring the fact that they couldn't score, they played really well up until the goal. And then once the goal was scored, then either RFS broke down a little bit or Tukums woke up, or a combination of both. And then Tukums did create some interesting chances and dangerous situations, putting RFS on the back foot.
Still, RFS just struggling to properly score. As you said, they controlled the game, they controlled the ball, but yeah, something lacking. And defensively, this time also not that good. Conceding 12 shots against Tukums, 5 of them on target. That's not the stat that you want to see from RFS. And I don't know how they didn't score more in the first half. Of course, credit to Chevers, the young goalkeeper for Tukums, but also some just incredible misses from Zuzins as well. A few meters out and just a rugby shot over the bar. And yeah, Tukums did put some opposition on them as well. They could have scored. This could have ended 1-1 as well, although it shouldn't, definitely. And other than that, RFS is just solid but can't score. Tukums, I think, have been a bit unlucky not to get better results in the previous games because they don't play bad. I think they play as good as the sort of squad, the level of players in the squad allows them to. But yeah, just unlucky not to score. A few concede a bit less, and yeah, I think that their position in the table is not really, but I can't really say not the appropriate one as well. It's very, the table is very interesting at this point, but yeah, Tukums a bit unlucky, but ultimately the better team won. And it's good to see that some RFS players getting some more playtime as well. As you mentioned, Duash, Vlalukin starting, Uzela, Nagasawa, the Japanese player, come on. So, and then score, of course, as well. He was first to rebound. So that's good to see, because I think RFS usually depend just on 13, 14 players, but now a bit more rotation in the team as well. Zelenkovs as well played a half, and that's good. That's good to see. Other than that, in terms of Tuk,
that was a bit surprising because he's a midfielder, isn't he?
I guess, yeah, sort of a winger, but
he played almost like left back.
Yeah, left wing back, I guess.
That was strange.
Yeah, but I guess I guess they do need it because I think they rely too much on Maras. There's not really a replacement for him because Sorokin's more of a right-sided player. Good, it's good that they tried Zelenkovs out. In terms of Tukums, only 2 games, but I think Budkovskis looks really good. Also a young defender in Tukums. Not sure how old he is. I think 18. But yeah, looked really good and even confident on the ball, which is rare from like a young defender. Kranzman's also started, which is good to see. I think he's a good player, but just I don't know if it's like a problem with the attitude or whatever, because he's not really getting chances wherever he goes. He was at Riga, but didn't really play. Then there was last year preseason. I think he played quite a lot and scored a few goals, but still didn't play. He got loaned out to Auda. There also didn't really play, didn't really do much, and now he's at Tukums. But I think he has more potential than this, so I hope he sort of also properly gets out of his shell.
Well, he had a dangerous moment in this game towards the end.
Yeah,
where Tukums kind of started attacking more. He had I was really far away, so couldn't really tell as well, but the crowd went wild, so he definitely had some opportunity to do something very disappointing to RFS.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just hope to see more of that from him. And also, yeah, I think it's worthy to point out that that Tukums played without the 2 lone players from RFS, Vilkovs, which is like main keeper, Stepanovic, which is I think one of the best players in Tukums, and yeah, the fact that they managed only a 1-0 with the squad that they had, I think it's still quite applaudable, and yeah, in the end, it's a very logical result, and I think there's more questions to ask to RFS rather than Tukums.
Perhaps the only noteworthy thing is that RFS are still yet to concede a goal from play this season. They only have 1 conceded goal, which remains the penalty from game against Riga, which ended 1-1. Other than that, no one's managed to crack their defense open yet.
Yeah. Well, then moving on to a bit of a surprising result. Daugavpils against Riga, 1-1. Daugavpils, yet another home game with the theme park in the background, which I think it looks really cool. And they managed a draw against the biggest team in Virsliga. Daugavpils has really turned it around. They actually play nice. I don't know what more to say. They look good. Well, considering they played against Riga, of course. Managed to get a penalty early on in the game, which Lizanos took and scored. Also, like the celebration in front of the camera. There's a lot of in front of camera celebrations this season already, which I think I like it. It's sort of players showing more personality, and yeah, Lizanos just doing this sort of easy game, what can I do sort of celebration. Yeah, very nice. A draw against Riga is massive for them. On the other hand, for Riga, I think it's a huge disappointment. Well, realistically, they should have won easily with the squad that they have. And now we can ask questions for Riga. What went wrong? Of course, they did dominate the game. We spoke about Auda's possession against Liepaja. Very similar for Riga against Daugavpils, 73% for Riga. More shots as well, but most of them off target. It's quite incredible that they can have 14 more shots than Daugavpils and just 1 more than Daugavpils on target. Yeah, so terrible finishing from Riga. The only finisher, of course, Marko Regža, also previously played in Daugavpils, scored a few goals for them. So, of course, nice for him and for another Latvian striker to score. But other than that, I don't know what's up with Riga. What went wrong? Why are they not winning the games they should be winning? And yeah, what do you think of it?
It was a good game. Again, I agree. I enjoy watching Daugavpils play now, using their now familiar 4-4-1-1 formation. They did get 5 yellow cards in this game, which really speaks to the character of the struggle. You know, they fought, and they fought hard. Riga, well, yeah, I mean, something's not going for them. They made 4 changes in halftime. Regža has to go and rescue Riga again from just losing or not winning teams that, as you said, they really should be not struggling too much against. Again, Riga dominance, but unable to convert. 24 shots, 4 shots on target. It's almost like, it's a little bit like RFS, right? They get the ball into position, and then the players are just unable to do all that much to it. Even players that have shown previously great skill in finishing from very kind of difficult positions, like Jojic, for instance, had a wonderful chance, and where he scored a great goal against I think Liepaja. Somewhat similar situation now. It just sent it flying into the theme park. It just I don't know. Stipic, the Riga coach, didn't really elaborate this time because the press conference didn't really happen properly. And so we don't know. Maybe they again slept too much and ate too much, or whatever he said from after that one game. But they're still undefeated, so that should be noted. Only one of two teams still undefeated, the other being RFS, but not really demolishing their way through the Virsliga as one would expect, given the budget and the players and the coaching stuff.
Yeah, but on the other hand, no one really is. Valmiera started slow, then got this convincing win against Auda, and then continuing slow again. And, exactly the same result last week for Valmiera against Daugavpils, now Riga. I guess it's more credit to Daugavpils that I think they're showing that they're actually a good team, but then also potentially battling for this sort of 6th spot with, so far looks like Jelgava, because when they played Jelgava, they were just not up to their strengths yet. So it will be interesting to see both of them play in the second lap. But I guess Riga didn't play bad. Just still more to do. And again, credit to Daugavpils, because Valmiera showed it's not tough playing against them. And RFS are still yet to play them, right?
Daugavpils, yeah. Next round.
Yeah, and then...
But where Daugavpils is a very uncomfortable opponent for Riga, and they have struggled to win over them in Daugavpils. The fortress on Daugava is problematic to Riga. The story is very opposite for RFS, who I think won their last 17 games against Daugavpils or something in that ballpark.
Yeah, and also the lone players, I think they make a huge difference. I really like Jelgava in the middle. For his age, I think he really runs the game of Daugavpils really good. Huge potential there, and it's very nice to see a good central midfielder, Latvian central midfielder, of course, potentially a future player for the national team. And without him, I think it's going to be very hard against RFS. Of course, Lizanos will also, and Diamande, both will be, definitely players that Daugavpils will miss, but I think they're not that important, especially against RFS, who will control the game, and Daugavpils will rarely get any attacks. Jelgava will be a huge miss, and then I guess in that sense, RFS are probably going to win, and that's really where they also played it smart. I don't know, but if they see that Riga and Valmiera draw against a good Daugavpils team, you take the RFS players out against RFS win, then that's maybe where they get the edge over Riga in the long run. Who knows? We'll see. But still interesting to see what Daugavpils will do against RFS without the RFS lone players, and if they can still manage this incredible run against the top 3 teams. And again, they're playing at home as well, which will be of advantage. And it will be interesting to see if it's a good trend for Daugavpils or just Valmiera and Riga not playing up to their potential.
But Riga has the same deal with Auda. And Auda drew RFS. They got demolished by Valmiera, but it's a similar trend where there's lots of lone players in key positions, and then those are taken away in games where they face each other. I agree about Jelgava. It's really, really good to see him play and show what he has. During the last seasons for RFS, I kind of started wondering what's his value. He comes out for 10-15 minutes here and there and isn't really convincing, but now that he gets playtime, definitely a player to watch for sure. maybe we'll do an episode at some point in the future about players to watch, in which case he will definitely be very much front and center of that. The other two things that I'm very happy about is Dashkevich, the young Latvian on Riga squad, getting second half again, showing good things. And the other thing is that I predicted the result right. I called 1-1, and unlikely as of last week, but that's what we got.
Yeah, and in terms of Riga, also I wanted to mention a player that's been very disappointing so far, especially for my fantasy squad. But in terms of performance as well, I think, is Douglas Aurelio. I think he's supposed to be the sort of superstar of Riga, the best player. He was really good last season in the Conference League qualifications as well, and just he's not playing like bad, but not scoring, not really getting assists, not having these flashy moments, but in a good sense that he's supposed to, because he's very skillful, talented, still young, and a bit disappointing from him. I hope there's more to come, but a lot of questions about a couple of Riga players so far this season.
Well, and we'll just have to wait for those questions to get answered. Meanwhile, we go to Jelgava, who played Meta, which, nominally Liepaja versus Auda was supposed to be the central match of the round. But I think, at least for me, this was the one. This was the game that was least predictable, that I was looking forward to the most. So Jelgava Meta, Jelgava win 2-1. All goals scored in first half. Also, Agua and Embassy scored for Jelgava in 12th and 43rd minute, and in between that, Korea made things interesting by scoring for Meta. Jelgava lining up 3-4-2-1, Meta their familiar 4-2-3-1. Lots of changes for Jelgava, and not that many changes for Meta. Fairly equal game. Meta had way more attempts, but not that many more shots on target. Possession very similar, 46% for Jelgava versus 54% for Meta. I think maybe Meta showing a little bit more individual mastery and quality on players, but Jelgava remaining a better team overall. And again, at home, this was enough to make the difference and to earn another 3 very surprising but very pleasant and good to see 3 points.
Yeah, managed to finally see Jelgava live. Went to Jelgava to watch the game. Very nice. I've only played there, but I haven't been there as a viewer, and it's a really nice ground to go to. Very sort of a friendly atmosphere there. Really liked it. A lot of people there, a lot of spectators, I guess. And it was a really good game. Very sort of back and forth. Both teams attacking. A lot of good, battles, fights on the pitch. And again, just I'm always happy to see Jelgava win. But seeing it live and the way they played, was very good. I guess you make a good point about individually, perhaps some Meta players were better, but good team performance from Jelgava. But on the other hand, it's interesting to see that all of the goal scorers were foreign players, no Latvians scoring. For Jelgava especially, they're the only 2 foreigners. I mean, in the starting 11 at least. And but I just love watching Jelgava, the team spirit that they have, the way they play as a team. It just really shows. In terms of Meta, they didn't play bad, but there is something lacking somewhere. I don't know. I think there were some, not questionable, but interesting choices in the starting 11. Interesting to see Vasilevsky starting. Kirkils, I wasn't familiar that Fyodorovs had a knock in the previous game, and in which case, of course, it makes sense. But also it's weird to see Vapne playing so deep, because when I hear the name Lucas Vapne, I think of him as an attacking player who's sort of almost like behind the strikers and getting in the attacks and finishing them. But he's playing so defensive, so deep, and even when they have the ball and they're sort of moving forward, he's very late to join the attacks. And don't know what's up with that. I just don't think that's the best role for him. So that was a question that got to me when watching the game. But I think quite a deserved win for Jelgava. Well, arguably there could have been a penalty for Meta. Should mention that VAR was present this game, and there was this one moment where I think it was Kurtsev who sort of was on the run against. Well, he wasn't really one on one with the goalkeeper. There was defender chasing him, Veikriegers, and he sort of pushed him over or knocked him over, kind of. And there wasn't even a VAR check by the referee. And then after the game, of course, Meta coach Wichert's very disappointed and angry with it, saying that there should have been a penalty, complaining, which is not rare for him to do. But after the game, I read even the Latvian Football Federation put a statement online that the referees are all the referees on VAR in the bus who are watching the game and the screen are always checking every decision, and the referee only goes to watch the screen when it's like an obvious mistake or an obvious moment to watch. But the referees on VAR ruled it out straight off. So I guess in that sense, it makes sense. But when you watch it back the moment, there are definitely some questions to be asked about the refereeing and potentially Meta having a penalty.
I don't know. They did, as you said, upload a video from all the cameras for us to see. I mean, 50-50 at best, I think. But I didn't think that there should have been a penalty there.
Yeah, I guess.
Although it is understandable why Meta coach would be disappointed with not getting one, especially given the result.
Yeah, these 50-50 moments are always frustrating. And yeah, it's just part of the game. But I guess it was a bit soft. And what can you do? But some good display from Jelgava. I really liked Daniels Grauts, the right back from Jelgava. Not really sure why. It just seems every time he's with the ball, he's very calm and composed, and just looks a good player. Not much merit to it. It's just liked him. But also he got an assist for the first goal, a very good cross, finished off by Osuagwu, and of course Redko, considering his age, just like a fine wine. Very calm on the ball. I think he really helps the squad to sort of calm them down, slow the game down a bit, and just really good at 40 years of age. Still playing at such a level. Incredible. And also their goalkeeper, Edgars Andreevs, with some very crucial saves. Yeah, just a nice win. And for Meta, they're not looking bad, but something's still not really clicking as it should be, I think. They did get some wins previous games, but still could do better. In the previous games, for example, Reitis looked really good. This game, just didn't see anything particularly good from him. Kersh is playing a central back, and I know he's initially not a central back. I think he was like an attacking midfielder, and sometimes you can see it as well. He's good at the back, but I think the first goal is sort of on him. On the other hand, I think Vientias is very solid at the back, very confident, and he definitely could play at a higher level than Meta. Shibas looked good when he came on, but still, I don't know. It was a good game in terms of to see which really is the best of the bottom 5 teams, and I'm just happy to see Jelgava being the one, at least for now. I think Daugavpils will challenge them in the future, and of course should mention that Meta's goal, Korea, also an incredible goal. I don't think he could have put it more in the top corner than he did. It was clean top corner, but Mbassi also a really good goal. It's a weird one because he definitely didn't mean to strike the ball that way, but he did, and then he had bounced on the ground up, and then it's also hard for the goalkeeper to react to it, and then bad day in the office for Bex on that one. But overall, I think Jelgava just showed their qualities, got a solid win in the end, and I think it's nice. They have a really good sort of atmosphere in the ground. There's a lot of people watching the game, supporting Jelgava, always rooting for them, applauding after substitutions, etc. And I think just as a whole, as not only as a team but as a community, as a club, Jelgava is just well, I've said it a lot, but yeah, it's just very likable, and they keep showing it and proving it, and it's just nice to see. But at the same time, props to Meta as well. They did play good, and this season they're definitely looking better than previous seasons, and I think they'll be fine. But for now, Jelgava, my boys, winning, and I love it.
I think maybe the issue with Meta is that they a little bit underestimated Jelgava. That sort of was the vibe that I got. And another team that seems to have underestimated their opponents was Valmiera, who traveled to Salaspils to play Supernova. And, well, I think everyone, us included, thought that they're gonna rehabilitate for their recent performance and score like a dozen goals at least. And they ended up losing 1-0 to what is probably the worst team in the league right now. And, well, there we go. That happened. I guess now we have to live with that. Supernova lined up as one would expect, highly defensively, 5-4-1. Valmiera with their familiar 4-1-4-1. Unfortunately, some injuries for Valmiera. Jibril Gay seriously injured. We will not see him anymore this season, almost certainly. Supernova rotated again. They couldn't use Lusin, Shrestchevskis, and Kaushelis because they are on loan from Valmiera, and Lysens is injured. And in their place, Atars, Jagodinskis, Ostapenko, and interestingly, in goal, different keeper, Soloha, who is a bit of a sensation now, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, Supernova win 1-0. Raquel scores penalty. Other than that, dominance by Valmiera, as one would expect. Again, one of those games where 75% possession for Valmiera. So, for the Auda game, I said I don't really remember last time I saw, although there was a condition that it's between two roughly equal teams, but now we saw Auda keep 70+% possession, Riga against Daugavpils as well, and now Valmiera against Supernova, basically hogging the ball for the entire game and not really being able to do much with it. 24 shots, only 5 on target versus 3 for Supernova. And Supernova also included a crossbar towards the end of the game, so could have very much been 2-0. I think Atars was the one who attempted that. They got a penalty, which I think was a simulation, a very beautiful piece of acting from Vishniakovs. But they got it, they scored, they held on to it against all odds, and Valmiera just left very disappointed, and everyone else very much shocked seeing the result.
I'm not sure if Valmiera underestimated the opponents because, well, maybe mentally the players did, but in terms of the squad, they didn't really put up like a worse team. I think they put up the best players that they had at the moment. And I think ultimately what shows is that Jibril Gay will be a huge miss for them, and definitely was for this game, because Valmiera did dominate the game. They had a lot of attacks, a lot of chances, just couldn't convert them. And that's where...
Well, 5 is not a lot.
Well, shots on target, yes, but in terms of attacks and the build of play, they were controlling the game. They weren't like mostly in the center. They were sort of around the box a lot, and yeah, that's I think where the Gay would come in handy, because he does miss some chances, but he does his best to sort of somehow squeeze them in and score them, as he did against Tukums. And yeah, that's where they're lacking. The fact that they didn't manage to score a goal, and they've been lacking goals this season overall, of course, except for the one game against Auda. A bit unfortunate for them, but at the same time, Supernova, I think, proving the conspiracy theory wrong about wanting to sack the coach, because if they play like this, there's no way they want coach to be sacked, especially against Valmiera. After this game, who knows, perhaps it should be the other way around, and Counts could be the first one to go. Well, I don't think it will be the case, but yeah, just a weird loss for them. Supernova, fair play to them, the way they fought. In terms of the penalty, I have to disagree with you. I think it was a clear penalty. Lauer reached for it. Vyshnikovs was first one to it. I watched the replay, and he didn't really start falling before it. He was reaching for it, and maybe that's why he was sort of a bit diagonal. But I think it was a fair penalty. I don't think there were even a lot of sort of complaints from Valmiera about it being a dive. But of course, not sure. No one will know for sure. Vyshnikovs will not come out and say that I dived. But yeah, and Rakels converted it. Lauva was close to saving it, which he's been really good at, I think, lately. Well, last season, Lauva, I think, famously saved the penalty against Riga in a huge match. Of course, should also point out that, a different goalkeeper for Valmiera this time, Klaus Lauva, the young Latvian. But I don't think that really made a difference. Whichever goalkeeper was in the net, I think the game would have ended the same. But yeah, speaking about goalkeepers, Supernova's goalkeeper, Saloha, yeah, probably the game of his life. So far this season, he only played the half last game, and now he finally started between the sticks, and well, yeah, game of his life for him. Saved the penalty from Jelisko, and after that, Valmiera was attacking even more, and even then he made 2 really good saves, at least 2, I think. And yeah, kept the clean sheet, got the win for Supernova. But I guess all of the Supernova team was really good. The Supernova even put up a really long Facebook post about this game today. The way that they spoke about their players was just very uplifting. They said that everyone was really good. Of course, they talked about Saloha, the goalkeeper, a lot. But then they also pointed out the center backs, Jonaras Janvārs and Zelmanis, which were really good, to be fair to them. Just fighting every battle, every sort of duel, and good from them. Then also Atars and Tsirulis in the back, on the wings, were really good. Then I want to point out Jagodinskis, Ricardo Jagodinskis, also a young player for Supernova. I think this was his first start this season, and he played an unusual role for him as a CDM, and was really good there as well. And Ostapenko also played defensively a lot, also another player who hasn't really played that much this season. And yeah, considering the sort of holes in the squad that Supernova had, to come away with a 1-0 win is incredible for them. But overall, I think it's even more incredible for the league as a whole, because it shapes up the table even more interestingly, and it's just very exciting to see that every team can upset any other team, because yeah, last year's champions against convincingly the worst team so far in the league, and the worst team winning. Yeah, just incredible.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. The table is looking extremely dynamic, especially if you look outside of the first 2, RFS and Riga, who are undefeated. The remainder of it is just a free-for-all. You just don't know who's going to win or draw, where they should have lost or win, and it's very exciting. I said it last time, I'll repeat it. To me, this is the best season thus far.
Yeah, at least in terms of first 6 rounds, definitely the best first 6 rounds so far. And yeah, very competitive.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, and well, who knows? Maybe the rest of the season won't and will live up to be the best season, is what I meant. But just not football-wise, but also just things outside of it. For example, the backdrop of Daugavpils, the sort of players engaging more with camera, etc. Jelgava and their story, just very, very nice, very interesting, and every team has something about them. I think that's the most important thing. I think last year there were some teams that didn't really have it. For example, I think Spartaks was just who cares about them sort of team, but now every team
for sure, yeah,
every team has something about them. And yeah, by the way, did you manage to listen to the press conference after this game?
Yeah, manage being the key word, because it's always a struggle to get through it. But I think the change in demeanor and pitch and tone of Kalns kind of very nicely drives home the seriousness of the situation that Valmiera may be in, because instead of just rambling about this, that, and the other thing, he was just straight up, subdued. It's a very quiet, I wouldn't say defeatist, but defeated press conference by Kauns, where he said that their Valmiera are just not ready to play football right now, which is in stark contrast to what he said a couple of weeks ago when he said that they're probably going to win the championship even earlier this season than compared to the previous season, and that everyone is weak and everyone plays bad except Valmiera, who are going to triumph atop the world. Well, that hasn't really proven to be the case, and although it's absolutely still very early, these swings in mood and attitude, yeah, at this point I hope everything's okay, because you love to hate on Kauns for things he says, but Valmiera is an important part of the league, and they're going to be representing us in Champions League this season, which I really, really hope they're going to get their things together before then, because this is just borderline embarrassing at this point.
Was it said today that the injury of Gay is that important? Is that serious that he won't be playing this season again?
He's gonna have surgery, I think. So when was the game? Game was on Sunday, right? Yeah. So I think he said either Monday or even that same day he was gonna get surgery, and that he'll be out for at least 6 months, but realistically probably a year and a half or so. So Jibril Gay, if you have him in your fantasy squad, not worth keeping, but on a human level, really best of health and speedy recovery to you.
Yeah.
Definitely will be missed.
I think a key player this season for Valmiera, and without him, definitely they're getting a new striker in mid-season for the Champions League qualifiers, because without him it will be tough, and it just showed even against Supernova. I believe if he was in the squad, they would have scored at least one goal. I think he sort of can get them over the line with his sort of fighting spirit, and he's just not giving up, which he showed against Tukums. And but in terms of Kauns, I also wanted to point out that I think it's fair enough to sort of not like the way he sort of presents himself or speaks in the press conferences, but I think he has it a bit tough as well, because I think he's doing the best for the team. It was sort of a common thing last season as well. He sort of interesting comments in the press conference, but after the season he admitted that he only says these things, for example, that we can win the championship easily because his players are still sort of young. It's a young team, and psychologically it's easier for them to hear such things, that he has belief in them, etc. Because you would take a different approach with older players, and I think he just has to do that. And I have to defend him a bit, because I think sometimes probably he himself doesn't really believe in his own words, but he just has to keep saying those things for the players, for the team, as I said, because they are young, and that this is the way you go about them. But I think this game was really the limit, and that's why he actually had to say it how it is, as you said, that he actually said that they're not ready to play football, etc. I think that's the case. I don't think he really believed those things. I just think he has to say them. And this time he was probably done with it, and said that, okay, we're actually not playing as good. Because previous games, you could say they weren't playing bad, maybe a bit unlucky, but this game, again, they didn't play bad, but a loss against Supernova is just not it. And I guess now he has to be more straight with the team and just say, well, lads, something's not right. And I hope they turn it around, especially because, as you said, for the Champions League, we need them to be good. We need them to be much better than this.
I don't know if I buy that, though, because recall last season the entire narrative arc of Valmiera was that nobody believes in them, that they can win the league. So the driving motivator was to prove everyone wrong, and that has been admitted by numerous players and people around Valmiera. In the press conference, I think it was Nowitzki's who asked him, like, are you really believe? Do you really believe in these things that you're saying, or are you just doing the Mourinho tactic of taking attention off the team? And he seemed kind of flattered with the comparison, as one would be, and said that, yeah, that's kind of his thing. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe that is deliberate. I don't believe that it's for the team. I think it's him. Maybe it's his communication style. Maybe it's just the lack of filter, or whatever it is. But I don't buy that he was trying to encourage players by making those very arrogant and, let's admit it, downright demeaning statements about other teams. And now suddenly he is going to communicate with them in this way. It just seems like ex post facto rationalization to me. But I mean, either way, we'll see what happens. He still refused to talk about those mysterious problems that Valmiera squad is facing. There's speculation on Twitter, some of it more serious, other less so. Some people said that, well, maybe Valmiera is not paying salaries to their players, which seems extraordinarily unlikely given the amount of money they made in the transfer market last window. So time will tell. I think they just need to restructure, get back to the ground. Maybe it's what Pertia said. You can go and win championships with a team that's been pre-made for you, but now that you're in charge of assembling the squad, we'll see what you're actually made of. Maybe we're seeing what Counts is actually made of at this point, and it's not particularly impressive as of yet.
True, but on the other hand, at the game against Auda also, it cannot be a coincidence because it was just too convincing. So there's definitely something, but also something lacking. And the other thing is,
it takes two to tango, right? So Auda was there too.
True, but Auda hasn't been also that bad the rest of the games. But yeah, the other point is the old saying: it's what's harder to win a championship? It's harder to retain the championship. And to prove everyone wrong the first time, I think it's a bit easier because, as you said, no one believes in you, and you just build off it. But now that they're champions and trying to remain champions, I think it's even a harder task. And I think it's obvious that Valmiera are missing the two Japanese players from last season, Murata and Yokota, who were really running the game and keeping up the energy. And of course they're missing others as well. Kroll is Mano, but I think the Japanese players were really the key players. And I think if they didn't have Jalisco, it would be even a sadder story because I think he's the one who's at least somehow still at the best of his abilities. Even though even him sometimes it seems that something's lacking. But what will be interesting to see what's up with Valmiera in the future, and what really is the case, what really Counts believes in, what is the team really like? Are they as good as they should be and they were against Auda? Or is this the reality of Valmiera losing against Supernova?
But that's round 6. There we go. Some very interesting surprises, some good games to see, and Virsliga 2023 continues to not disappoint. Which brings us to goal of the round, and I only have one contender for this one, and in the words of Simo Valakari, the wonder goal scored by Anan of Liepaja against Auda in that very first game of the round. I think that one is outstanding and absolutely deserves the grand old prize that is our goal of the round award. What do you think?
I will probably agree with Anand, but I wouldn't say it's that convincing because I think there should be also huge shout-outs to Correa for Met. I think his goal was as clean as it gets. It was a closer range, but the finesse shot he did straight in the corner, no chance for Andreevs to save it. definitely better placement than Anand, but Anand had the distance and maybe a bit of a shock factor. Because when Correa got the ball, I know exactly what he was gonna do. I didn't expect him to actually execute it that well, but Anand unexpected, and well, probably a better goal in cameras as well. So I agree with the giving it to Anand from Liepaja.
Oh, it had everything. It had the shock value. It had the long shot beauty. It had a flying goalkeeper. It had a rebound of the crossbar. It's just highly cinematic. This is the one this time.
Agreed.
So congratulations. If you want to see the goal, well, either watch the highlights or check it out. We'll post it on Twitter at LV football_show. And the next round already starts tomorrow. For us, once this is released, then that will probably be today. Tukums are gonna host Liepaja in the first game of the round. Who do you think is gonna take this one?
Well, it's a tough one because I think Tukums are due a better game and could maybe get a draw, but I think as Liepaja is maybe slightly improving each game, I'll go for 1-0 Liepaja.
I think you're probably right, but having seen Tukums live and what you said a couple of episodes back about the team spirit being high and they're showing themselves good in training, that really came through during the RFS games, and I think Tukums are overdue for a win and for their second 3 points. So I'm gonna go with maybe 2-0 Tukums.
Ooh, no way, Monk, and let's Liepaja get a clean sheet, but who knows? Okay, next game, Daugavpils against RFS. Daugavpils home again. I hope there's still the backdrop of the theme park. And if there is, then they're not going to get a draw. I think it's a RFS win, 2-0.
Yeah, I think the theme park is there to stay still for a bit of time. I think someone mentioned that in the press conference or someplace, so we'll still see that. But yeah, no, I think history will repeat itself yet again for all the various things that we also mentioned, and I think it's going to be a 3-0 for RFS.
Jelgava against Auda in Jelgava, and their home ground. That's a tough one because Auda.
I think they're not undefeated at home. RFS won,
yeah,
but other than that one game,
other games they've won, and so there's definitely something there. And if Jelgava managed to at least get a draw against Liepaja, I would be very inclined to back them. But Auda probably have to get the win. But actually, I still will believe in my boys, and this time it will result in a draw. I will say 1-1.
Yeah, I kind of want. I'm always rooting for Jelgava, but I never predicted they will win, and I think this time will be no different. So even though best of luck to you guys, but I'm gonna go with maybe 2-1 Auda, or 2-0 Auda. Auda's defense is rock solid, not as rock solid as RFS, but they control the game, they keep possession, their defense is very good, their keepers both excellent. I just think Jelgava might struggle putting the ball in their net.
Yeah, then Supernova against Riga FC. After Valmiera's game, it's just don't know what to think, but I think Riga will win. And I think it should be a bit of a more convincing win this time. I'll go 3-0 Riga.
Yeah, well, Riga is no Valmiera. They do remain undefeated, consistently so. I think we got a good glimpse of what Supernova is gonna do in this game as well. So probably a 5-4-1 kind of deep defense counterattacks play. So I don't think Riga will manage to get too many past them. So I'm gonna go for 1-0 Riga.
And the last game, Meta against Valmiera. Tough one to predict.
Imagine saying that last season.
Yeah, it's incredible. However, now thinking about this, Valmiera are yet to play Riga, and I somehow have a feeling that Valmiera will win against Riga FC. But well, that's yet to come. But against Meta, I think that Valmiera should sort of make it right again and win. But I just can't think of anyone who would score for them without Jibril Gay. Pool is
and Varslavans is also injured now.
Yeah, he's not really scoring. I'll go with the. Could it be a boring 0-0? Could it be? I'll go with the 0-0 actually.
It's interesting. I was thinking of draw as well, but I was thinking 1-1.
Who knows?
I don't know who'll score. Maybe own goal. Valmiera are very good at forcing own goals from other teams. So maybe 1-1, but Meta scores both. So let's go for an audacious prediction like that.
That's a good audacious prediction. I think Ilic should score this round against the Jelgava. He's missed too much.
For RFS? Well, that never stopped him before, so...
True.
I don't know. You're gonna predict Ilic for RFS?
I can say that, but who knows? Maybe he won't even start. Maybe, again, Moros gives chance to Gausho. Or maybe Gausho is finally. Hard to say.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't bet any money on that.
Probably not.
Pretty sure Ilic is gonna start, and we'll get lucky if Nagasawa gets some minutes again. I think that's the deal with RFS and Moros.
Yeah. By the way, fun fact quickly about Nagasawa. Like this year, in the beginning of the year, he even trained with my team, Marupe, for a couple of games. Not really sure why. Yeah, there were quite a few Japanese players, but yeah. And it was quite obvious that he's a good player, and yeah, it makes sense that RFS signed him, and hope to see more from him.
So is Marupe like a third-tier RFS farm club as well? Can we expect to see you in the blue at some point?
I think there's definitely 100% chance that not. Unfortunately, of course, would love to put some competition on Jagodinskis, but yeah, unfortunately, won't happen. But yeah, it's interesting. Not really sure why was he there, but yeah, I guess there are some players that sort of come to Latvia and try to find clubs where to play. I guess it also doesn't help that RFS maybe were in Latvia at the time, but I guess it's a weird time, the start of the pre-season, because teams are sort of start trying to figure out their squads. Players are looking for places just to train, and maybe that's why he sort of got to Marup. I don't know how, but yeah, just trained for a bit, and then hope to get some trials in some Virsliga teams, and then see whether they are a fit or not. And yeah,
I was watching RFS preseason friendlies, and I think he was playing in the in the arenas, the indoor pitches. Yeah. So he was playing from the beginning before they went to Turkey.
Yeah.
All right, so we will be back after round 7 to see what happens and whether there will be any more shocking surprises or will things get back on track for the Virsliga teams. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you then.
Bye.